The sky over Enugu was turning gold, the sun slanting through the dust and rooftops of Coal Camp, where life was loud, chaotic, and unrelentingly real. In a cramped one-bedroom apartment, 25-year-old Chidera Okeke stared at her cracked phone screen, scrolling through old messages that no longer meant anything. There was a time when her name carried weight in the university corridors, bright, driven, and full of fire. Chidera had been the kind of girl who spoke up in class, organized rallies, debated professors, and chased big dreams like they owed her something. Her law degree from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, had barely finished drying when the pressure started to build. Her father had high hopes, my daughter, the barrister. Her mother prayed for her to land a position at a top firm in Lagos. But Chidera? She wanted something more meaningful. She joined a human rights nonprofit in Abuja instead, throwing herself into cases that felt personal, land disputes in rural villages, domestic abuse cases no one wanted to touch, police brutality reports that made even her colleagues nervous. Then came the protest. Chidera had helped organize it, one of many in the #EndSARS movement. She stood in the rain with a megaphone, her voice hoarse as she called for justice. Videos of her speech went viral. The attention was immediate, and so was the backlash. By the following week, she'd been dismissed from her NGO job without clear explanation. Her father, fearing for the family's safety, demanded she leave the house if she wouldn't calm down and act like a real lawyer. Her relationship with her longtime boyfriend collapsed under the weight of media attention and threats. Friends stopped answering calls. Bridges burned in every direction. 4 months, Chidera wandered. She couch-surfed between distant cousins in Lagos, took freelance writing gigs for pennies, and slowly lost the fire that had once fueled her. Depression followed. So did doubt. Maybe she had gone too far. Maybe silence would have been safer. But it was in the silence that she started writing again, not legal briefs or petitions, but stories. Real ones. About the women she had met in shelters. About the boys tortured in backrooms. About what it felt like to fight and lose everything. She published her first essay anonymously. Then another. By the third, a well-known digital magazine in Nairobi reached out and offered her a guest column. Her voice, once weaponized against her, was now being celebrated. She moved to Jos, quiet, creative, far from the noise, and poured herself into writing. Her apartment had one table, a generator that only worked when you kicked it twice, and a view of the hills that reminded her that beauty still existed, even in broken places. One day, she got an email from a human rights foundation in Ghana. They'd read her work. They wanted her to lead a new storytelling initiative across West Africa, training survivors to share their stories safely. Her chest tightened, not out of fear, but out of possibility. It wasn't a job offer. It was a second chance. She went home to Enugu first, the city where it had all begun. The streets hadn't changed much, but she had. She knocked on her parents' door. Her mother cried when she saw her. Her father, ever the traditionalist, cleared his throat, said nothing, and then quietly handed her a chilled bottle of malt. They sat in silence, watching the street from a veranda. No apologies. No grand speeches. Just space. That night, Chidera stood in her old room, fingers grazing the faded posters on the wall, Malcolm X, Gani Fahimi, Chimamanda. She wasn't that girl anymore, but the fire wasn't gone. It had just shifted. Smoldered. Now, as she prepared to board a plane to Accra, Chidera looked at her passport and smiled. The bridges had burned, yes, but in the ashes, she had laid the foundation for something stronger. Not just survival. Purpose. Not just noise. Impact. She had lost a lot, but she had found herself. And that was more than enough for a new beginning.